Hi, Patty, we miss you.
Yeah, I hope you're feeling better.
All right, so the Parsha this week is Vayera, and Vayera, the first sentence in English is translated as, and God appeared to Abraham, right, by his tent in Mamre, and the men, the three angels, the three guests come. But the word Vayera actually has the word yira in it, which means to fear. It means to fear, even though it also relates to seeing, because ro'eh is to see. And another translation of the word is awe, like to be in awe. So God appears, Abraham is afraid, Abraham is in awe, Abraham sees something he never saw before. The whole Parsha has a lot of incidents of not seeing what's right in front of you, or not seeing that something is possible, and then getting over that sort of blind sight, like that, the blinders, and expanding our vision and seeing something that we weren't aware of. So when Hagar is cast out with Ishmael and she has no more water for him and she can't figure out how they're going to live, and she assumes the boy's going to die because there's nothing to drink, God says, open your eyes and see. And there's a well right in front of her. And there's water there, but she didn't see it. Abraham takes Isaac up the mountain for the Akedah, for the sacrifice that God has commanded and told him to take. And Isaac says, Dad, like, I see the wood, I see the knife. Where, like, I don't see the sacrifice. Where's the animal? And Abraham's like, don't worry, have faith, God will provide for it. So Isaac doesn't see what isn't right in front of him because it's not there physically, tangibly. And Abraham is seeing something else, that there's some possibility that something's going to shift and change and show up that we haven't quite, we can't quite conceive of. It's something, it's a faith, right? And then when they're up there and Abraham ties him up and is ready to slay the boy, the angel appears to him again. Vayera, Abraham looks up and he sees the presence of an angel, a messenger, and the messenger says to him, Abraham, look over there. There's a ram. There's the animal. Sacrifice. So here's my question for us. In our own lives, how faithful are we when we can't see how something's going to turn out? When we can't see the next step, when we can't see the end of the road, where we can't see where the path leads to, we can't see how we are possibly going to resolve whatever conflict or struggle or illness or injury that we're dealing with, right? We feel like we have no way of seeing, predicting, knowing, like, how faithful are we in those moments? That's the question. How faithful are we that something will reveal itself? And I learned this phrase from a very dear friend of mine who's done a lot of 12-step work. And one of her favorite mantras is, more will be revealed. And I love that. When you don't know the answer and you want to know and you're gripping to try to control the outcome, but you really don't know, what is the answer except to surrender as an act of faith and just trust that more will be revealed. Yeah. So the shirt I'm wearing says Emunah, which is faith. So let's take a moment and just get grounded in a meditation. Actually, I'm going to, because I did do a Qigong practice this morning, which is very much about trusting in what is unseen, trusting that the energy of the universe surrounds and fills us at all times. In Judaism, we talk about sovev umimale, Godness, the substance of God, of consciousness, surrounds us and fills us at every moment. It's the same as chi, life force, prana. So we're going to do a little bit of meditation, and we're going to do a little bit of visualization of connecting to and bringing in and filling ourselves with universal energy, and then moving it through the body. It's not something we can prove. It's not something, well, maybe there are sciences that would prove it, but it's more of a trusting in faith. And let's see how you do with that. Let's just see where, where that takes you in your own imagination and experience. Okay, so do what you need to get comfortable, however that is that you want to sit or lie down. And then I'll invite you to close your eyes. So when our eyes are open, we're receiving all of this stimulus from our external environment. And as soon as we close the eyes, we're receiving information from the internal environment. So for a moment, just keep your awareness like right behind your eyes, right? In this upper region of your forehead, your eyes, and just notice what's there. What colors, what patterns, what energy. On a physical level, you can notice if there's any tension. See if you can soften the eyelids. Maybe feel as if the eyebrows kind of widen or separate away from each other. Like all those muscles on your forehead can relax. Soften the creases and crinkles in the corners of your eyes. And keeping a sense of lightness or buoyancy in the head, right? As if your head is just gently floating above the top of the spine. You can even imagine that your head is filled with helium and there's this natural lift. Very easy, light. Maybe you find more space between your ears and shoulders. And I want you to imagine that all of the pores of your skin are open. So your whole body is open and breathing in energy from the cosmos. So every inhale, imagine that this energy is drawing into you in all directions throughout your whole body. You're just bringing light, energy, whatever that feels or looks like to you. You can imagine it as white light. Inhale it all in. And as you exhale, you breathe it all back out. So you're just this opening to energy from the universe. So on the inhale, you fill yourself with brightness. And on the exhale, you soften into that, like merging with everything outside of you. Just bring your awareness back to the surface of your skin as you inhale and exhale. So your whole skin is breathing. And just notice what sensations you see, not with your eyes, but you see with your inner awareness. sensation that you're not just breathing with your nostrils and your lungs, your entire body is in this rhythm of breath. And now do a body scan internally. So take a look, right? We're not looking with our physiological eyes, but we're looking. So our consciousness has this ability to see, to become aware, to notice. Just do a body scan and notice what parts of you feel some tension or tightness this morning. And then you're going to breathe, choose one of those spots. If you have more than one, choose one. You're going to inhale through your whole body, this universal energy light, and draw it into your whole body to the location where you feel that tension or tightness. Your shoulder, your throat, your belly, your hip. And as you exhale, brighten, like you're concentrating all that light into that place, and you're brightening that place up on the exhale. And then just do that a few times. You're inhaling all this fresh healing energy to that spot. You're exhaling, brightening it, and really like suffusing it with that healing energy. And bring your hands over your heart center. And just ask yourself this question. In what area or around what issue in my life right now do I want to bring in more faithfulness and trust, even though I might not see the next step? You ready? You can open your eyes. Let's start standing. All right. All right, let's just take hands to the heart. Breathe a few times here. Can you maybe, if you have the backs of your thumbs, bring your thumbs to the heart. See if you can just feel the rhythm, like your heartbeat, into the backs of the fingers. Good. Pour the arms down. On an inhale, the arms lift up all the way overhead. You can take an opposite elbow, and let's just take a nice side bend over to the right. Pressing down more firmly into the left heel. And while you're here, just let your chin and your gaze drop towards the floor. Take a look at the ground outside of that right foot. And then gently turn your gaze and really like follow what you're noticing. What am I seeing from this perspective, from this perspective, from this perspective? Every like inch of, movement, you're seeing and spotting something else from a different point of view. Good. And then lower the gaze back down, doing the same thing. Just take time. This is also, by the way, we're just really doing a little bit of myofascial, very gentle release in the neck there. Yeah. Good. And then come on back up through the center. Let's take a forward fold. You can keep your knees bent here, soft knees. First forward fold of the morning. You can shake your hips side to side. And take a look at your toes. Without judgment. Doesn't matter if they're manicured, pedicured. Just take a look at your toes and appreciate them. Slowly roll all the way up. When you get to the top, let's just take some shoulder circles, nice and slow. Up and back and down. Good. And then inhale the arms up overhead. Take a hold of the right wrist with the left fingers and just reach over to the left side. And same thing, you can just, at whatever pace you want, you can just kind of go through that, like unfurling the neck and moving with the gaze with awareness. Good. And come back through the center. We'll take one more forward fold here. Take your arms out to the sides. Spin the fingertips behind you. Reach the palms together behind your back, interlace, and reach those shoulders down from the ears. Good. Maybe you could take a gaze up to the sky. Let's talk a little bit about fear. And what we look at either makes us afraid or, right? So it's a lot easier to look down than to look all the way up. So what I want you to do is don't overarch in the back where you're crunching the low back. Think about shifting your hips forward a little bit. So make a little like you're actually shifting the hip bones forward. And so now you have a lot of strength in the core. And then maybe a little bit of a lean back. Maybe a look up to the ceiling. Maybe a look back behind you. Good. And then bend the knees and fold yourself all the way over. Good. From here, just release the hands, drop the fingertips towards the floor, step your right leg all the way back. Take a look at your feet, both feet. Your front foot, lift the toes up a little bit. Make sure there's an arch. Your back foot, all 5 toes are pointing forward. The heel is reaching straight back, but it's up off the ground. Good. And then slowly peel your way up to a nice, deep, strong lunge. So that front knee is bent. As deep as you're willing to go, the knee's not going past the ankle though. The knee is like just above the ankle. Good. Take your hands to your hips. Smile. Breathe. So actually now bring your hands a little bit higher than your hips. Bring them to the rib cage. And I'm going to ask you to do something a little scary. You're going to close your eyes. That's hard in a lunge because now you're balanced. And I want you to breathe into your rib cage and feel your ribs in your hands, what's happening. Good, open the eyes. Take the arms up to the sky. So my guess is that as soon as you close your eyes, you start getting a little like, the body gets afraid. The body like, wait, but I can't see how to hold. And your body starts finding its own, like different muscles get awake. There's a different alertness. And then when I asked you to bring your hands to your rib cage, that focused your inner seeing and gaze at something that you could really focus on, that brought some steadiness, maybe, right? So gaze matters. In yoga, we call it drishti. Where your attention goes, right? Your energy flows. I think that's a skiing thing too. I'm not really a skier, but I learned that in snowboarding once. And it's like wherever your gaze is, that's where you're going. So you have to pay attention. Where you look is where you move. All right, take your right hand. You're going to bring it down to the floor or a block under the right shoulder. And we're taking a little twist here. And you might need to get a little deeper in the pose if you want to get a little more into that lunge. Good. And then if you want to take some back strokes, if your shoulder is healthy, you can take some back strokes with the arm. You can maybe follow the fingertips if that doesn't make you dizzy. Right, so just noticing what you see, what you sense. Good. And you're going to bring that hand down to the floor, move the block out of the way, get your other hand to the floor. Take a look at your hands. Very intentional. Like make sure the fingertips are on the mat. Make sure the knuckles are touching the mat. Like you have a little bit of a dome, like a claw. So like arches in the hands, right? To give you extra support. And then you're going to take that left foot all the way back behind you to meet the right in a down dog. Good. So first, keep your eyes open in your down dog. Gaze back up at your hands. Make sure they're still engaged and strong. Take a look at your toes, at your feet. You can look back between your knees, between your upper thighs. That's going to lengthen the back of the neck and the cervical spine. It's going to let the shoulders release a little. Good. And now close your eyes. And take the next 2 or 3 breaths with eyes closed and see your down dog from internally. Okay, another little act of faith. And this is all optional. You can do whatever you want. You do not have to listen to me. But maybe keeping your eyes closed as you move forward into a plank pose. So your shoulders come over the wrists, your belly hugs in, your heels reach back, legs are strong. You just hold that plank pose for a moment, eyes closed. Eyes still closed, you can lower the knees gently to the ground. Notice how different it feels to like find the ground when your eyes are closed, right? Like you have to have this trust of where am I going to land? Then gently, again, still eyes closed, bend the elbows, bend the elbows, bend the elbows. Belly still strong, hugging in and up. And you're going to slowly lower to the mat. You can close your eyes are closed. You can release the arms behind you, rest your cheek to one side. Let's take a little locust pose here. I'm going to adjust my camera so you can see me. Okay, so locust pose. Palms are facing up. You're going to gently lift the arms and shoulders up off the mat and then take the head up also, but you're not craning the neck upwards at all. You're just keeping the chin to the throat. You're looking straight down beneath you. Good. You can keep all 10 toes on the floor here, really pressing the toenails down, but the kneecaps will feel like they're lifted. The belly is lifted in, away from the floor. Good. If you want to go a little more, maybe you have the strength to lift the feet up off the ground as well. So you're basically balancing on the pelvic bone now. Yep. On the lower ribs. Good. And then lower all the way down. Rest your cheek, the opposite cheek than you did before. All right, as you're ready, plant the hands underneath your shoulders, come through hands and knees, and you can lift yourself up to a down dog. Breathe. All right, you're gonna step the right foot all the way up to the front of the mat. So we're doing the other side, same thing. You're gonna take a look down at your foot, make sure you have an arch. You're putting the toes really strong, spread toes. Back heel is up, toes forward, and then coming up for your lunge. Yeah. So eyes open first. We want to make sure, we're finding ourselves in space. And, balance comes from integrating towards the midline, right? Muscle hugs to bone, belly muscles hug into the spine. Good. All right. And then you can take your hands to your hips or to your waist. I kind of like the connection to the rib cage, but whatever feels good for you. If that brings your shoulders too high up in your ears, don't do that, right? But let yourself, my balance is a little sketchy on this side. Let yourself play with closing your eyes. Notice what shows up in your mind. Notice what shows up in your breath. So this choice between being afraid or being faithful and trusting. Good. Open your eyes, take the full expression of the pose, arms reach overhead to the lunge, like a victory. Yeah. Woohoo, I did it. Okay, I gotta tell you something. Sharon already knows this. Terrifying. I went on what I thought was going to be a really hard advanced level hike at Breakneck Ridge, but I thought I was going up the regular scary, terrifying trail with my friend who was guiding me. But no, he took me like a rock climbing way off the trail where I'm literally pulling myself up a sheer face mountain for 800 feet straight up with my back behind me towards like sure death if I fell. Like finding footholds and handholds, and I was beyond terrified and afraid. And I could not see, literally could not see, where do I put my hand next? Where do I couldn't see. And the trust I had was, yes, in God to keep me alive in that moment, if it was meant to be. But I also had trust in the person I was with, that there was someone else watching me, guiding me, helping me, encouraging me along the way. If I didn't have that faith, there was no way I would have done it, right? So faith can help us overcome fear. Okay, right hand down to the mat, left arm up to the sky. We're in a twist, yep. So the tendency here is to lift the hips up higher and come out of the bend in the knee, right? Because you need that space. I would rather you take a block under the hands, get the arm up higher, go deeper in the front knee and deeper into the lunge. Yep. And this can be scary. When we take deep poses and we hold them for a long time, that it challenges us. Like, can I do this? Is this too much? Is it too intense? Do I want to go there? What helps you personally come back to a place of trust and faithfulness? Maybe it's the breath. Maybe it's, I can do anything for one more breath. Good. Circle the arm if you'd like, just opening up the shoulder. Maybe it's the knowing I can leave this pose, I can take a break. That it's like when you know that you have an out and an option, maybe that gives you the strength and courage to stick with, right? Because you know that there can be an end game. All right, from here, we're going to come back to that down dog again. And I'm going to give you another little like faith, fear, little challenge. So you're going to lift your right leg up to the sky, down dog split. If that's enough of a challenge for you, you can stay there. But then the rest of us are going to bend that knee of the leg that's in the sky, drop the heel behind you. So you're in a little twister stretch here. You can feel the stretch in the rib cage. You're gazing out under that right armpit. And here's where we're gonna play maybe a little more on our edge of having trust. Now take a look under your left armpit. The floor is there. You know that the ground is not that far away from you, okay? You know, maybe you got 2 or 3 feet between your foot and the floor. You're gonna roll to the outer edge of that left foot behind you so the foot is more planted on the floor. Yeah. And then you're gonna let yourself slowly, slowly, slowly drop the right foot behind you till it finds the floor behind you. And now you are in a rock star pose, otherwise known as flipping the dog. So I'll show it to you from the side. I'm here in my down dog, I'm in my twister. I spin and I have faith that my foot can come down to the floor. And then I stretch myself out. Whee! And then you find the floor again for your hand. You bring that leg around, lower your knees down to the mat, and just take a child's pose for a moment. And child's pose is a great place to close the eyes and again, go inside and look and feel at what's happening in the heart, the mind, the body. When you're ready, we'll come up and do that on the second side. Yeah. So you'll come back up into your down dog. You'll take your left leg up behind you, high up to the sky. Start with the down dog split. Just enjoy the stretch at the back of that right calf, that right hamstring, the inner thighs. Relax the head and neck. Good, then you can bend that knee so the heel comes behind you and twist open a little bit more, gazing up under the left arm. And then spot behind you for the floor, right? That little extra, like I do trust that I can touch that. And slow, slow, slow with control, you let yourself tip over and you come into that dog. And the variation of that is to lower the knee to the ground. And right, the knee and the leg can come to the ground and you can just kind of take it there from the side. So you don't have to put all the weight onto the wrist if that's too much for you. Good. And from here, again, come into a child's pose. I'll give you a variation of child's pose that might feel nice for you. You can take your hands behind you and clasp the hands together like we did in our forward fold. And then you're just gonna roll to the top of the head. You may need to move the head forward a little, find the space that's comfortable for you. And there's a little gentle massaging forward and back over the center of the cranium. So it's called rabbit pose. Another variation is to hold on to the heels. Good. All right. And you can come sit up. So I'm gonna offer, it's really hard for me to do this over Zoom. So I haven't taught a headstand or a headstand prep over Zoom because I don't, like, I really like to be in the room and see. So who just, let me see show of hands, like who would like to just play in like a tripod headstand prep? Like you feel like your neck is healthy enough and your shoulders that you would be okay to kind of, all right, let me give some options. Yeah, a couple of us. Okay. So, I mean, I'm going to guide you very, very carefully, step by step, and it'll be a safe exploration for those who want to try. But let me give you another variation. So the goal is to get ourselves somehow upside down and in something that pushes us like just another step beyond our comfort zone of what we're normally doing. So if for you, you want to take any inversion that works for you, you could feel free to do a shoulder stand, a legs up the wall. You can do a supported shoulder stand with a block. The idea, I mean, I know those are poses we tend to do a lot, and that's not very scary. And I'm not saying go super scary, but something that feels like maybe a little, maybe you always take just like this, and maybe you go a little higher. What would that feel like to lift a little higher? Whatever it is. Do what's appropriate for you, or you could even lie on your back like we did last week and take those IT band stretches. That's scary. That pushes us where like our body doesn't really like, don't make me go there. That's really hard. Choose something like that. Okay, if we're working on the headstand, let me see what somebody put in the chat. If you're, okay. So we've already felt like what it feels like a little bit to put some pressure on the top of the head. Here's what a tripod is gonna, this is like the basic start. Hands are gonna be the same distance we would do for a down dog, for a chaturanga, for a plank, right? Hands under, wrists under shoulders. And then you're just gonna put your head on the triangular point. You're making a little triangle, that's why it's called a tripod. You do not put your head in the center between your hands. That is very weird angle for your wrist, for your neck. You're putting your head here, and you're making like a three-pointed, that's it, right there. So I'll show you from the side so you can see better. Hand, and my head is gonna go here. And that's my starting point. Everybody can do at least that, right? If you can do that, the next step is to gently lift your knees up off the ground, and you can walk your feet in a little closer. Now I'm putting a little more weight on the head. And you can stay there. Yeah.
Rob, can you just share for us? Because I know there's
Yeah.
a place on the head.
Yep. It's not the forehead. It's not below the hairline. It's basically like from this spot, like maybe an inch above where your hairline starts. That's kind of like, and that's where you find right here, like this section right here. It's not the back of the head, right? It's really like pretty much the top forward third of the head.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. So the starting point is just finding that tripod and just finding that spot on the head that feels right. Okay. Your elbows are nice, easy bend, right? You want to be, you see what happens if I'm too close? Then my shoulders have nowhere to go. My elbows, my hands, wrists. It's very weird, right? You want the head forward enough. Okay. And then from there, maybe you just lift the knees up off the floor and that's it. If you want to go a step further, you're just going to lift one knee to the tricep and just see how that feels. And then lower that side and try the other side. So you're just playing with being upside down and putting some pressure on the head. If you could do one side and you want to try both, you really suck the belly in nice and strong because that's the core that's going to lift that other foot off the floor. And now you're balancing and you're in a tripod. And that's it. You could bring the toes together to touch. The belly keeps hugging in. The hands are wide and pressing down. You're not collapsing really all the weight into the head. It's really very balanced. You're distributing the weight. Yeah, so just see what that feels like. Good, Amy. I'm watching. Amy, you don't even need to bring your hips up quite so high, but that's okay. Yeah, you're practically in the headstand. Yeah. Yeah, and then bring toes together and make sure your core is pulling in. Yep. That's it. Dina, you've got it. That's it.
Rob, can you show in some angle how far your
the elbows
shelf are you making with your arms?
Well, that's going to depend on your hip flexibility. Because if your hips don't, like my hips can go all the way up to my shoulders and over, but that's me. That's not everyone. You know, the higher up on the tricep you could get, the knee is going to be better. I'll show you again. So like say, you don't want it right. You obviously not joint to joint. You need to be above the elbow, right? And it's really not even quite the knee. It's really the inner, like you're really actually almost trying. Here, let me show it to you from this side. Sorry, I'm going to show you my butt for a second, but this might help you to, you see how
yes.
Right, to the out, like a little bit to the outside.
And then I'm hugging in here. Yep. And I'm trying not to let my elbows flail out. I'm trying
Right.
to keep them in like a chaturanga. So everything's squeezing to the midline still. Everything's pulling to the midline. And then the next stage from there is if you had the strength, you would take the knees up off the elbows and you would lift the legs up to the sky. And now you're in a tripod headstand. But I'm not asking you to do that, especially without a spot if you're new for that.
We can do that privately one day, or if we get together in person. Yeah. All right, good. Did everybody try something that felt a little new? A little new. Yeah. Yeah. So first of all, congratulate yourself for that, because that's you practicing faith and surrender. That's you practicing. I don't exactly know if I can control this, or how it's going to turn out, or what is going to be at the end of me going in this direction. But there's a faith that whatever it is, I'm resourced enough to kind of handle it, right? And I've got other support around me in community, and somebody's watching me like that. All right, let's come here. Let's do a little hip opener here since we're already on the floor. Just take your knees out to the side, kind of flap your wings here. Ah, tell you, it feels like summer today. All right, and then let's just take some circles back and forth. You could take circles 360 all the way around, whatever feels good to you. Close your eyes. And I don't know, I know Sam is outside, so he's got the natural light. I've got the sun shining in my window, and I can feel the heat and the light from this side of my body. Just with your eyes closed, what are you perceiving about your outer environment? All right, you're going to keep the toes together, lift the knees up off the ground a little bit. We're gonna take our hands underneath the shins, okay? You can keep the palm, I don't know about clasping, I would just keep them kind of open. And then you're gonna lean back a little bit so that you can tip yourself up, and you're balancing on your bottom. This is what it looks like from the side. I'm just balancing. Now, again, the tendency here, if we're not being mindful of our core strength, the tendency is to kind of collapse the belly and roll through the upper back and lose the strength. We're trying to keep the shoulders down, chest open, belly in, the whole sternum and torso is lengthening. Okay, from here, just for fun, let's see if you can shift your hands to that, like here, hold the feet. And maybe try to straighten one leg out to the side. And then bring that back in, straighten the other leg out to the side. Bring that back in. Let's see if we can open up both legs. And again, here's what wants to happen, but we're resisting that. Open, 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 chest open, heart open, throat open. Good. Then bring the legs towards each other. They might not be straight. They might be very bent. It's okay. You're trying to sit up as tall as you can. You can let go of the toes and bring the hands under the shins instead. Right? Good. And then let's just release the legs, but still hold ourselves up. Lift, 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 just for another breath or two. Full boat pose. Oh, and then lower all the way down and hug your knees into your chest. You can rock side to side or take some circles here. Just massage out the sacrum and the low back. Let's take a happy baby here. So feet towards the ceiling, knees. Oh, this is kind of like what we did in the tripod in a way, right? Similar feeling. Imagine your hands are reaching to the ceiling, right? Like the way that they were on the floor. Yeah. And then the knee just comes to the outside, and the other knee comes to the outside, and the toes come together, and you squeeze in, squeeze in, squeeze in, squeeze in. This is really prep for a crow pose, because right? If this was the headstand, our head would be up, but our head is down. It's more like a crow, throat open. Squeeze to the midline. Feel your belly get strong here. Yeah. Yeah. Good. And then release it out. Let's take a twist. Let both knees drop over towards your left elbow. And be careful of the shoulder. The tendency is like we tend to bring the arm up and that strains the neck. I would rather you bring the arm down and try to find ground with your shoulder blade. Close your eyes. And whatever that thing was at the beginning of the practice that you identified, like, I could really benefit from cultivating more faith and trust around this issue. Maybe just come back and revisit and see what other information is being revealed to you about how you might take the next step forward or let yourself just be with what arises next. Keep your everything where it is. The only thing you're going to do differently now is extend the top leg. So that right leg is going to extend and flex the foot, reach the heel away from you, and pull the toes back towards your face. You can turn your gaze for a moment and just look at that foot. So heel reaches away, toes pull back towards you. And then you could bring your gaze back up towards the ceiling or over your right shoulder, whatever you like. This is obviously, you could feel, is going to deepen and intensify the opening out of this hip. Good. All right, if you want a little extra challenge, the bottom leg with the one that is still bent, you're gonna kind of reach the knee now down away from you and the heel behind you, and maybe, or you might need a strap. You can find contact maybe with your pants, with your ankle, with your toe tip. And now we're kind of pulling ourselves apart in this twist in two directions. Yeah, this is also a quad stretch, right, for that left quad. And you'll feel this as a deep twist in the mid and lower spine and into that right hip. And can you find your breath again? What happened to your breath? So our body knows when it's in fear or on alert or in that, sympathetic fight flight mode when our breath gets really shallow or we catch our breath and hold it. So that's always a clue that we're a little bit afraid, right? So we can soothe that by breathing fully. Like be in an uncomfortable place, but still breathe. All right, rebend the top knee, draw that bottom knee back, and bring both knees into the center. Woo. Let's do a little pelvic lift here. So just push down into both feet, lift the hips straight up, hip points to the sky. Good. And slowly lower back down. Good. Let's take the knees over to the right elbow. Same thing, just start in the reclining twist. Set up the left arm in a way that you can try to get the shoulder blades down. You might even lift your upper back and scoot your right shoulder to the right so the left one has more room. Yeah. And if you close your eyes, maybe inside yourself, you could just see that left rib cage expand and contract with the breath. You'll extend the top leg out. Oh, you can look over at that foot. See if you're able to straighten to the best of your ability. You might not go fully straight. And again, you might want to take a strap and make a loop around the foot and hold that strap. Toes towards you, heel away. So I don't know if you know that tomorrow night, or tonight actually, there's a full moon, a full solar eclipse, a total solar eclipse. And traditionally, in all traditions, and especially in Judaism, in the Talmud, in different books of the Torah, in Joshua, eclipses were very powerful portents of change, of something big going to happen. And what happens in an eclipse? Something we see that is visible becomes completely dark and we can no longer see it. And then it gets revealed again. So there's this light and then dark, seeing and not seeing, what is revealed, what is concealed, and having the faith that it will be revealed again. So an eclipse is an interesting moment that tests our faith and our courage. All right, bend that bottom knee back behind you, reach for the ankle or the toes. So now you're in this cute little, I don't know what you would call it, I've twisted myself into a pretzel and fallen and I can't get up pose. All right. Bring it back to the center. We need to do a tiny little bit of core work just to reintegrate. So first, just take your feet a little wider, knock your knees towards each other, and we're going to just windshield wiper side to side. Good. A little bit of core challenge now. Bring your knees together, feet together, knees are over your hips, arms down by your sides, or if you need extra support, bring your hands underneath, like a little triangle underneath your hips. And you're just going to keep the core really strong, pulling into the back of the spine, the back, lower back pressing down to the ground. You're going to tap your toes to the floor and then lift your knees back up. That's it. Just there. Tap the toes and lift. The closer you do it underneath yourself is very easy. The farther you extend the legs out, the harder, right? It's a little bit of physics there. The longer the lever, the more force you're exerting. And yep. And you can play with gaze open, gaze closed, like what helps you access your faith and strength. If you want to add a little bit of lower abs, like a hip hike, it looks like this. You tap the toes down, and instead of coming up and stopping here, you bring the knees in towards your body and lift the hips up. Yeah, and it doesn't have to look that high, but you're doing a little extra for the lower abs now. Good. And then you can hug your knees into your chest. And take a minute to do any other poses that would feel good for you right now. You know, just take a minute to round out your practice, and then you'll make your way into Shavasana. And if you'd like, you can gently rest your palms at the belly and just make a connection with your attention, your inner gaze, and your breath. And taking a moment to just offer any prayers for yourself or for your loved ones. And maybe expressing gratitude for this practice this morning, for whatever was revealed to you within your body, your heart, your awareness. Shalom b'mrama huya shalom aleinu val kol Yisrael val kol yoshvei tevel v'imru. Amen. We all be blessed with peace. Peace for the rest of our day, for the rest of our week, for the eclipse tomorrow.